What's going on, everyone? Happy Thursday early evening or afternoon, depending on where you live. What's going on? We are here for a news update and WWE Clash at the Castle 2024 predictions. Going to be a big show this Saturday. 2 major title matches taking place at the Clash, and there's only 5 matches total. So we have a lot to kind of dive into there because there is so much to think about, specifically with one of the world title matches, the Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest title match. I have been doing the Zach Galifianakis hangover meme with the numbers going in your head for weeks and weeks about this situation as we go into SummerSlam and taking all of the information that we already know, such as Gunther's title shot at SummerSlam, the length of McIntyre's reign at WrestleMania, the length of Priest's current run, how I personally don't think McIntyre should be champion going into SummerSlam since Gunther is getting the shot. Feels like McIntyre and Punk is going to be your match there. So what does that mean for Clash? Lots of those things and thoughts ricocheting, no pun intended, inside and around my skull. And so I'm going to do my best here to put my final predictions on what I think is going to happen this Saturday. But in addition to that, we have a lot of other stuff to get into. Big Ricochet update. As we saw this past Monday night, we were here for a live watch-along on Monday, by the way. Thank you to everyone who joined us for that. The way they handled Ricochet is not generally the way WWE writes people off of TV. So we do have the latest update on Ricochet and his impending departure from the company, but also what we might have seen on Raw, what that might have meant, because Samantha Irvin was involved there, and it had a lot of us kind of scratching our heads, and all I did was react to it. I haven't really offered you any thoughts on that. So we'll talk about Ricochet here to open up the podcast. Also, we got some news today that Jeff Hardy is set to be a free agent on Friday, tomorrow. So just a few hours, Jeff Hardy will be a free agent. I'll let you guys know what I think about that and if I think WWE should take yet another chance on this guy. Or better yet, perhaps bring him in for a farewell run, even with Matt Hardy involved. We're also going to talk about Cody Rhodes' appearance in NXT this week. That was very cool. And we will talk about last night's Dynamite. I'm not going to give you a full show review, but I want to talk about the Swerve and Elite and Blood and Guts stuff. Want to talk about the Swerve and Ospreay stuff, the Roosh and MJF stuff, and the Jack Perry and Dustin Rhodes match. We'll talk about that, and we'll run through the current, as it stands right now, Forbidden Door card. And then after all that's done, we will predict Clash at the Castle. 5 matches coming to us Saturday, unless they tack on one on the kickoff or something. It looks like it's going to be another one of those typical Triple H 5-match cards that should be pretty good, because every single international show that we've seen this year, or seen in the last couple of years and few years, are completely off the hook in terms of fan enthusiasm and just the level of excitement and the hot crowds that they perform in front of anytime they run these international shows. Now we're starting to see PLEs and title matches take place, and I think this is a big trip for not only the fans but the wrestlers to go out there and knowing that they're about to enter an arena with one of the hottest crowds that they've ever seen. And now you've got, London and Glasgow and all of these places competing for who can bring the most ruckus environment to WWE. It's a lot of fun. I'm loving these international shows, and I think Saturday is going to be awesome. So that's kind of what's on the menu here today. I wanted to come up this week because on Saturday, I will be here for a Clash at the Castle, review. So we're kind of skipping our weekly podcast this week. We will be here Sunday for the watch along as well. I still have to put a link up for that, but it's going to be a busy weekend here on the channel as always. But since there is some wrestling news to get into and we don't have a wingy scheduled for Saturday, I figured we better come up here today and talk about that stuff. So we're going to get into Ricochet, Jeff Hardy, Dynamite, and some other wrestling news and notes tidbits, and then we will jump into Clash at the Castle. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here this afternoon. I'll go over here to the chat and say a quick hello. Not sure what kind of an audience we're going to have on a Thursday afternoon when I really didn't advertise this too much. Plus, I bumped the start time an extra hour than what I had planned for the last couple of days. Since I don't have much going on tonight, I thought I'd take my time coming up here and giving you guys the deal. So let's say hello to channel members like Joshua Aparicio, Red Raven Rucker. We got Ben Espinoza, Chaz Medeiros, Mike Rouse, Spartan Sprinkles. We got Garrett Osborne. We have Brandon McNeil and Jacob A. and K-Dog's Kennel and Deshaun Robinson and JJ Leg and Chris Barrera. pretty good amount of channel members in here so far. We'll shout out everybody else too, but I wanted to hit the channel members first. I want to say hello to my friend Kevin, member of 22 months. Couldn't be more proud to support you. You're a true friend, and I'm proud to call you a brother. Well, you're my brother too, Kevin. We got the same barber. We meet there every Tuesday, and he waxes our heads. Deshaun Robinson, appreciate you being here as well, my friend. Hey, Greg and chat. Long time no see. Yo, what the fuck? Where have you been? Don't do that shit again, Deshaun. This is your last warning. You disappear like that again for several streams, it's going to be trouble. It's going to be trouble. Better knock that shit off. Let's see who else is here. Decimania is here. Good to see you. Hollywood Hicks, Andy Linnell, Shane Belfus. We have Colin Wright. Of course, I use the Scotland national anthem and some other Scottish music, so I'm glad that I was able to use that for you, Colin, and any of my listeners that are from Scotland or live there or are attending the show on Saturday. I hope you have a blast. I know there's at least 3 of you who have tweeted me or DM'd me saying that you're going to the show in Glasgow. That's great. I hope it's awesome. Take video. If you tweet it, tag me in it. I'll repost it. Definitely excited to hear, live reports from fans who are in the building, because that's just got to be an incredible atmosphere. I mean, I went to shows in the Attitude Era. I've heard Stone Cold Steve Austin pops, The Rock pops. I've heard the biggest stars ever in the height of the business. I've heard the Austin. I've heard the pop twice when Austin has won the title, and I'm still not even sure if that can match what we tend to see from these international shows. So you guys are going to have a special time on Saturday, that's for sure. Also, good to see David Brown in the house as well. We have Damian Drain. Cherokee George is here. After an evening of severe hail last night, I am ready for some wrestling commentaries. Can't wait for the Clash. Where the hell do you live? You're getting some hail. Damn, what the hail, man? Trekopedia, good to see you as always. Daniel Barry Sports Highlights is in the house as well. So is the new one. And we got Spectra chiming in. Who should join Swerve against the Elite for Blood and Guts? I feel like Mox makes sense. Elite put out Eddie and Brian. Will looked really good with 2 straps, but I don't think he's winning. We are going to talk about Dynamite here very shortly, Spectra. Yeah, I don't think Will Ospreay is winning either at Forbidden Door. I think Swerve is going to carry that championship into All In. But I do think there are some possibilities there. That Owen, AEW and WWE both with these tournaments, they're making All In and SummerSlam, I don't want to say predictable, but when you have to, when you're trying to figure out and think about what both companies are going to do with these respective shows, we already know a little bit of the answer, and we know that a lot of that in WWE land. So when we're trying to, as we're going to do later, as we're trying to think about all these different scenarios for Priest and Drew and Punk and the Money in the Bank, can only go a couple of ways, because Gunther has won the King of the Ring and he's going to be getting the title shot. So we have a lot of that to think about. Same thing in AEW. And I think with the Owen, now that Danielson is in it and stuff, I don't know. They might have some other plans for All In, which is why they're getting Swerve and Ospreay done now, and perhaps they can use that match at Forbidden Door with Swerve surviving somehow, but leave it open, tell some sort of a story in the match that leaves you open for a return and a run back down the line. That's probably what I think they're going to do, and it's probably what they're going to do at the Clash with Sami Zayn and Chad Gable as well. So we will see, but we're going to be getting into that here very soon. And the Blood and Guts stuff, they just announced it. I mean, they weren't teasing anything, right? Prior to Dynamite, the Elite just came out there and said, hey, we're challenging 5 of AEW's best to a Blood and Guts, and then they offer one of their spots to Swerve, and he declines, of course, and now we're set up for a Blood and Guts match. And I know the Elite are tormenting AEW, but I don't feel like this match, they're just having the match. They're just making the Blood and Guts match and then putting people in it. This is the same type of problem I used to have with WWE when they would have Hell in the Cell pay-per-views and shit like that. I'm like, you're just sticking these cage matches on the calendar. And, they're kind of doing that with War Games too, but I can let War Games slide. That one seems to usually be okay. But when they put these Hell in the Cell pay-per-views, these Hell in the Cells used to be made and constructed to settle a deeply, deeply personal issue. Now they're just on the calendar for a pay-per-view, and they're just chucking dudes in there and girls. And so with Blood and Guts, it's their version of War Games. I could see a blood and guts match building and brewing with the Elite versus, a team AEW, but they just did a match like this at Double or Nothing a couple of weeks ago. Brutal, all over the place, wild, bloody match, right? So now you're going to turn around and do that again. And I know blood and guts is an annual thing for AEW, but I would almost prefer it if they maybe did it annually or semi-annually. Try to get a blood and guts match in every 18 months. Something like that. Not every year in fucking June, but every year-ish, and have one when you need one. And based on what we've seen from the Elite so far, this is something I feel like they could build for another few months and do one of these in September when War Games used to happen back in the day in WCW, instead of just saying, oh, we're going to do one, I don't know, in a couple weeks. I don't even know when this match is. And it's coming up now, and it's just like, we just did that, and I feel like this could build and bubble a little bit. So I'm not too terribly excited yet about the blood and guts match. I'm sure when everybody gets in there, it's going to be a fun match, super bloody, crazy spots, all that stuff. I'm sure it's going to be super entertaining, but I think it should not be so soon, right after Anarchy in the arena or whatever. So that's just my thought, but we'll dive into more of that here in just a bit. Mario, it's good to see you. Appreciate the $2 from you. Do you think it was a mistake for Solo to Sikoa? Yeah, I kind of do. I think it was. We got Bloodline talk to get into today as well, guys. Also good to see Garrett. Did I get you? I think I got all the shout outs here. Michael Cuomo, good to see you, man. And Daniel Malcolm is here as well. Anybody else chiming in? Wonderful to see you. Do me a favor, by the way. Smash that thumbs up button. We have still dealt with zero growth since WrestleMania. We're in that post-WrestleMania lull that the channel always hits every year. But I still need your subscriptions and, more importantly, your likes. So if you could hook this video up with a like, it helps the channel, helps the algorithm, helps us grow, helps me, and makes me happy. So like buttons make Greg happy. Thank you so much for doing that. And let's get into some wrestling news now. I think we need to start with Ricochet. Ricochet, of course, we saw this past Monday on Raw. Got his ass kicked by Braun Breaker. Now, it was already reported prior to this past Monday's Raw that Ricochet was leaving the WWE, that he gave his notice to WWE informing the company that he intends on leaving when his contract expires later on this summer. Now, we don't know when that is. It could be in 2 weeks. It could be in 2 months. But it is coming up, and he is choosing to not resign and probably go to AEW. So we knew that going into Raw on Monday. Then it was reported earlier in the day on Monday, I think it was PW Insider, who said that night, Monday night on Raw, would in fact be Ricochet's last night in the company. He's not factored into any plans beyond Monday. And we're like, okay, so we start watching Raw together. And we know we have the Braun Breaker and Ilya Dragunov match already pre-advertised from the week before. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, if tonight's going to be Ricochet's last night, they got to do something. So I'm thinking Breaker is going to beat Ilya Dragunov and then get on the mic, call out Ricochet for an impromptu match and squash him in 5 seconds and run his ass out of the WWE to AEW. That's the way I do it if I'm booking things and I know somebody is leaving. But instead, after the match, Breaker continues the attack on Dragunov, and then Ricochet interferes from the crowd, comes diving over the barricade, kind of over by where his fiance's doing her work, dives over that, attacks Braun Breaker. So then we're like, okay, this must be it. This must be where he kills him. And then they brawl to the back, and then it goes to commercial. And I'm like, okay, well, that certainly doesn't feel like somebody being written off TV to me. So I started immediately thinking that Ricochet, this report about Monday being his last night can't be accurate, because we know that he's given notice, but he could have 2 months left on his deal for all we know. They can still use him a little bit. There's no point in putting him in a meaningful program if he's just leaving, but they can still finish him off, kill him off, so to speak, or write him off, or job him out, whatever you would normally do in these situations when somebody jumps ship, So when they go to commercial, I'm like, okay, that's not happening. So then I think we go 2 or 3 segments later, and then we cut to the back again, and that's when Braun Breaker and Ricochet are now in the back. I think Ricochet's helping Dragunov, or they're helping each other, and then Braun Breaker attacks Ricochet. I think that's what happened. All I know is Braun Breaker attacked him in the back parking area garage. And then he picks up Ricochet, NWO 1996 Rey Mysterio and Kevin Nash style, and lawn darts Ricochet into the production truck, which somebody online pointed this out, had Jimmy Hart on it. And that's a fun little Easter egg because Jimmy Hart was the guy that showed up at ringside on that Nitro in the summer of 96, right in June, I believe. Maybe it was a little bit after that, late summer. And when the NWO attacked WCW when they were doing the Orlando TV tapings or whatever, and Jimmy Hart's running, he's freaking out, grabbing the cameraman, come on, and it's attack. And he was the one that came and summoned everybody and got the cameraman back there to see Nash throw Mysterio like a lawn dart into the side of the trailer. So Braun Breaker doing that to Ricochet was a cool little Easter egg, but it was how Ricochet landed. He hit the truck and he straight up, we watched it. My reaction, I jumped out of the chair. He flat back bumped on the concrete, on flat concrete. I do not think he meant to land like that. He hit hard, sick landing. And that was a worse landing than the one he was going to take after that. So then after he bumps from, 6 feet up flat on the concrete, Breaker picks him up. He climbs up the steps of the production truck. There's like a Lincoln or a town car or something underneath the steps, and he power slams Ricochet into the windshield, real glass, by the way, cry me a river, into the real glass, and just completely destroys. And as you see the picture here, he just kind of leans up against the car, like admiring his handiwork, and Ricochet got destroyed. And then after that, we go to commercial, we come back, and they show a replay of Samantha Irvin, who's at ringside watching this unfold on the Tron, and she's losing her mind. And so she runs back there. She's running back there in heels to get to Ricochet. And she's with him. They're putting him on the stretcher. They're filming all of this, putting him on the stretcher. She's there by his side. She's crying, I want to go with him. They load him into the ambulance. She goes in the ambulance with him. I thought Breaker was going to be behind the wheel of the ambulance and come out and kick his ass some more. So they close the ambulance doors and the ambulance drives off. And I'm like, okay, so as we talked about on Monday night, that's not usually the typical way that they write someone off of TV. This is very different. Now, granted, we've been programmed in the Vince McMahon ways for all of our lives. So, this might be a situation where, there's no ill feelings here. This is Ricochet making a personal business decision for himself. And that's something that was taught to me years and years ago. I remember I left when I relocated cities in the Carolinas, and I left a job that I really liked and a boss that I really liked. And I was so scared to tell him I was moving, and finally when the night came and I sat down and I'm like, I got something to tell you. I think I'm going to move to the beach and I'm going to take a job down there and I'm going to quit. And I want to give you, I gave him like I was so guilty. I wanted to give him like a 2-month notice, not a 2-week notice. I was like, because I was in charge of everything. I did the schedule. I was managing the place. And I'm like, I want to just give you enough time to transition away from me and find my replacement. And I was like almost in tears over it. And he was like, don't apologize for moving on with your life. Are you kidding me? I'm going to love you and miss you, but I'm happy for you. Don't ever feel like I would be resentful towards you or be upset with you. Sure, we're sad to lose you, but I understand, man. And I'm like, it's just business. That's all it is. And with Ricochet and Triple H, wrestlers like working for him. It's always been positive, everything we've heard about Triple H. So I could completely understand a business arrangement coming to an end. I am appreciative. Thank you so much for what you did for me, but I'm going to go in this direction now. Why would the company resent him? Why would the company do everything they could to damage him on his way out the door? It's not like the 90s anymore, so it's very possible that, things are just different now. And Triple H is like, we're going to write you off TV a different way. Instead of jobbing you out or having you lose a loser leaves town match or get crapped out in 3 minutes or whatever, we're going to write you off a completely different way to where if you go to AEW for a 3 or 5 year deal, you can come back here and attack him at WrestleMania 44 or something. They might have that type of stuff in mind where this actually is a write-off. It's weird. It doesn't feel right to me. This feels like it's going to, if you're like, for example, this is what we talked about on Monday. If you're a casual fan watching and you have no idea about Ricochet's contract status and you're not a fucking dork like us and you don't know every single little damn thing that's going on behind the scenes and you're watching this on TV, you are going to think that this is an angle, that this is a program, that when Ricochet gets healthy, He's going to turn back up on TV and attack Braun Breaker, and we're going to get a pay-per-view match out of this or something. That's what this usually means, which makes me speculate that it could still mean that. You know, I mean, if Ricochet, we don't know any dates. I have no damn idea. Don't take my word for anything. But let's just say, for example, Ricochet's contract is up on August 1st. He's got a whole another month and a half where he can be on the shelf for 3 weeks and then come back, attack Braun Breaker. And if I'm WWE, that's what I would do. I appreciate WWE kind of keeping us guessing. WWE knows that we know these Ricochet stories. So they planned out a series of segments on Monday that kept the fans kind of guessing. And that's good. A lot of people complain about the dirt sheets. The dirt sheets are ruining wrestling. No, not really. I enjoy the dirt sheets. Without the internet, I would not have seen that Jimmy Hart Easter egg into the production truck and shit like that, you know? And with the internet and WWE being aware of that, saying, you know, let's play with the audience a little bit. Let's keep them guessing. Let's make them think that Ricochet's not leaving. Maybe they think that he must have changed his mind and re-signed with the company, and now they're putting him in a program with Braun Breaker. Or, you know, at the very least, I would let the fans continue to believe that was Ricochet's write-off of television. And before his contract is up, after Braun Breaker wins another squash on Raw, have Ricochet show up through the crowd in street clothes, jump Braun Breaker. Cole and McAfee can be like, oh my God, we heard that he's left the WWE. He's back. But he's not really back. He's just attacking Braun Breaker, trying to get some revenge. Then he books a match. He challenges him to a match, and Breaker's like, okay. And then Breaker kills him. Then Breaker just breaks him in half. 4 spears. There's literally half of Ricochet's body on one side of the ring, half on the other. Just completely demolishes him. And that is his exit. So that's why I think Ricochet ain't quite done yet. I think he's going to come back, jump Braun Breaker in a couple of weeks. The two of them are going to have one more match, either on Raw or pay-per-view. And that will be the end of Ricochet. At least that's my gut feeling, but I don't know. Here's what Fightful Select had to say about Ricochet yesterday. Ricochet, and I quote, Ricochet had indicated to WWE that he planned on leaving the company at the conclusion of his contract, which Sean Ross Sapp has confirmed is up in July. Okay, so I didn't even read that part. I'm wrong about that August 1st. But even if it's up in July, he still has time. But we don't know if that's July 1st or July 31st. We don't know. Goes on to say, regarding PW Insider's report that Ricochet could end up making additional appearances, that is technically true. The company has him under contract for the next several episodes of TV. However, as of June 10th, he wasn't scheduled to appear on WWE TV again. Due to him being under contract, they could already ask him to do more. Those asking about Samantha Irvin, she is in Scotland for this weekend's show and is continuing with WWE. We don't know how long is left on her deal. Ricochet did not make the trip to Scotland. So that kind of reiterates what I was already saying there. WWE could definitely use him one more time, but it would be interesting, I will say, kind of a cool type of interesting if this was his actual write-off. If they basically explain, or maybe since Samantha Irvin is involved in this, they have her maybe explain it. Maybe it's literally Ricochet got his ass kicked so badly by Braun Breaker that he wants nothing to do with the WWE. He is leaving. That would still be effective, but it's just, we're not used to this. Our wrestling brains aren't used to that. What we saw from Breaker and Ricochet on Monday the only thing that tells us is these two guys are going to have another run-in. This is rarely how people are ended in the company, just by completely being demolished to the point where they don't even want to come back, because they can't pretend that Ricochet is injured beyond repair. He's never going to be cleared to wrestle again. They can't pretend that, because Ricochet is going to be on another TV show in just a couple of weeks. So it's going to have to be, I guess it's going to have to be the WWE was too much for him. He's decided to cut his losses and go elsewhere. He does not want to come back and face Braun Breaker because he knows he's going to get killed. Something like that. But this is definitely different than what we're used to. And I'm not at all against that. I kind of like having things presented to me differently, and Triple H being a little bit more dialed in a lot more dialed in than Vince to what the internet is talking about, and saying, let's not make it so easy for him. If they know Ricochet's leaving, let's not give him the most obvious segment imaginable of Braun Breaker just beating him and squashing him in a match and then sending him out the door. Let's have the fans continue to be guessing, 3 different segments. It took them 3 segments to get all that done. First it was the backstage stuff, and then it was the match between Dragunov, and then the post-match beatdown, and then the parking garage shit. So they, showed you Ricochet 2 or 3 times on TV in segments on Monday before they got to all of this. So that's stuff that I can appreciate, because as wrestling fans like us, people on our side of this, it's really hard to be surprised or to be kept guessing a lot. And anytime I can be kept guessing, and anytime I don't know for sure, I usually have the most fun. So nothing really changes with our thoughts on Ricochet. We wish him the best. If he's going to go to AEW, that's going to be tremendous. It's going to be fun to see Ricochet and Will Ospreay battle again. And if Ricochet's contract is up in July, that means he will be available for All In if that's what they want to do. Ricochet and Ospreay would be tremendous at All In, but I'm not sure if that's the match they want, but it sounds like Ricochet will be available for that. So we will keep our eye on whatever's going on with Ricochet and Samantha Irvin. But, Samantha, a lot of fans, I think, were worried about her too, because she was in the ambulance. Oh my God, is she going to leave? I doubt it. I'm surprised Ricochet left, but Samantha Irvin is quickly developing one hell of a legacy for herself in WWE as their ring announcer. I think she'd be a fool to leave. I mean, even if Ricochet and her were together, Ricochet making her leave to go to AEW, I mean, she'd be great in AEW too. They could just bring her on, and she could work there. But I really like her in WWE. I don't want to see her leave WWE. I don't think she's going to. I feel like her and Ricochet, that's their relationship, not ours. I'm sure they've discussed all of this, and their decisions have been made, and they know how they're going to manage this. And there's plenty of other couples and family members spread across both companies. So this should not be that weird. But based on how Ricochet was written off TV, I kind of like how they did it, because it makes you think that you could see him perhaps one more time just as a surprise. Might be what Triple H is trying to do there. Just get him on TV one more time to get the internet talking. Oh, he must not be leaving. Sean Ross Sapp got it wrong again, or whatever they like to do. You know how the internet is. So, maybe that's Triple H's intent here. I'm going to throw Ricochet on TV one more time before his contract is up, just to get the internet all up in arms that they were misled or whatever. So I think Triple H, there's a part of him that likes to see the internet burn, and I'm fine with that. So we'll keep our eye on that whole situation. It's interesting to say the least. I think I've got a couple of shout outs here. Who got hooked up? Oh, Superman Bass Fisher. What's up? Welcome to the family. Joining us. Did I see a Juliet shout out? Is Juliet in here? Oh, there you are. Sorry you're late. What is it with you, man? What is it with you always being late? You and Deshaun, I swear. Y'all are asking for trouble. I'm kidding. You guys can be as late as you want. Good to see everybody else chiming in. Dr. War God put the AEW title on Ricochet. Okay. I don't know about that. I'm a Ricochet fan, but he does not have the charisma and the presence that like a Will Ospreay does. When Will Ospreay talks, I'm just like, please tell me more, Mr. Ospreay. When Ricochet talks, I'm like, click, what are the Golden Girls doing? But I'm saying that as a Ricochet fan. I mean, I can't lie about how entertained I am by him on the mic. I'm very entertained by what he can do in the ring, though, and I think he's going to be great in AEW when he gets there. Let's talk about Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy apparently is a free agent tomorrow. That's crazy that after all that, he came back to the WWE, had that late run, 19, 20, 21, whatever it was, in WWE. And then he had that house show where he just wandered out of the crowd and like into the audience and left in the back or whatever. And then WWE let him go for that. I'm trying to remember the story, right? And then he was off to AEW. And a lot of fans felt like he made that happen. He just literally walked out of the WWE and got them to release him. And then I think they might have had release remorse, and then they tried to coax him back. Remember, with the dangling the Hall of Fame induction in front of his face? He's like, no, fuck you. I'm going to AEW. And I think at the time, Jeff and myself and fans thought that he would be great there, especially putting the Hardy Boys back together, and Tony Khan buying the rights to the Hardys song. And I was at Double or Nothing 2022, and I got to see the Hardy Boys and the Young Bucks have that tremendous tag team match. And I was happy that Jeff Hardy was coming into AEW, but Jeff had to Jeff. And I will not hold AEW I hold AEW and WWE responsible for the lack of push and ball dropping on plenty of wrestlers throughout the years. I don't blame either company for any shortcomings that Jeff Hardy experienced with them. And Jeff Hardy was in AEW and he fucked up again. Fucked up again. And he was gone for a while. Had to go through his rehab and all that bullshit. And then AEW brought him back. But by that point, they're not going to use him for anything, anything major based on his track record. And then he just cannot stop stepping on his own dick. And it was just one of those things like, Jesus, Jeff, I was starting to finally feel comfortable about him and Matt, really having those demons behind them. And Jeff's just keep coming back. I feel like Matt's done a better job, Matt, the family man, although I think he's got a tumultuous relationship there with Rebby and his family, but in terms of their substance abuse, their addiction that they've dealt with, and both of them were caught severely in the last 10 or 20 years, I was really starting to feel comfortable that both of those guys had put that behind them. And I think Jeff mostly does, but he's still drinking and he's still got those DUIs, and I don't think the dude can ever drive again. So when that happened, I kind of just gave up. I'm like, I don't give a shit really what happens to Jeff Hardy at this point. He's been given so many opportunities. They even said, I think over the last 20 years, he's only spent like 4 or 5 months not under contract to a major company. So despite the countless run-ins with the law, the arrests, the DUIs, the constant fuck up after fuck up after fuck up, he has always had a job. Why? Because he sells. If WWE brings him back, he's going to instantly jump to number 2 or 3 on the merch sales instantly the next day. And I think he still has a lot of that ability to draw and sell merch. So now that he's a free agent and he's gone from AEW, I think that's the best thing for him. I think Matt Hardy has also gone from AEW. Their contracts were supposed to expire together, but then I think Jeff had some time added due to his various issues or whatever. So it sounds like they are both going to be free and clear. Matt Hardy is already doing some work in TNA. Jeff Hardy could join him there. WWE currently has a working agreement with TNA. Do we think we could see Jeff Hardy or Matt Hardy or both back in the WWE? I don't know. I'm going to give you my thoughts on that in a second. Here's what Fightful Select posted about Jeff Hardy's free agency today. I believe they are the ones that broke this story. Fightful Select's Sean Ross Sapp has learned that former WWE and TNA World Champion Jeff Hardy is set to become a free agent on Friday. Originally, it was believed that AEW could or would add significant injury and sabbatical time to Jeff's deal, but that doesn't appear to be the case as of Wednesday. Matt has left the company at the start of April, though the two sides did have talks about a renewal. We're told that since then, there haven't been extended conversations regarding bringing Matt back in at the moment. TNA sources told Fightful that naturally they were interested in Jeff Hardy considering his history with the company. Matt Hardy has been working in TNA, and TNA sources said things went so well, they asked him to work additional dates. So, when it comes to Jeff Hardy and the Hardy Boys, as a fan, I've gotten all I needed out of them. I used to live in the Carolinas. I used to go to shows when these guys were jobbers, when they were still coming up, when they were just trying to get bookings, when Jeff was a 15-year-old little shit taking razor's edges from Razor Ramon on Raw and stuff. I've seen their entire career, and going to so many shows in the Carolinas, got a chance to see them up close, win championships. I've met their dad. They used to have a whole posse of friends that came around, ran into them restaurants around the boonies when they were running indie shows and stuff. I have really enjoyed seeing the Hardy Boys progression from skinny backyard trampoline kids to world champions, not just tag team, but world champions. Jeff Hardy became one of the most marketable stars in the business in the 2000s, and he won singles gold, not just in the Intercontinentals, but he won the World Championship a couple of times, and I think his runs could have even been greater had he not had some of the problems he had. And the fact that he was still able to win championships and be pushed and used and beat big-time stars with the terrible reputation that he had in terms of getting in trouble is pretty wild. And that's why money talks. When you are a draw to the level that Jeff is, when you appeal to so many different audience members, young, old, people who like, good wrestling, people who like high flying. There's very little to dislike about Jeff Hardy other than what we know about his personal life in terms of his character, his presentation on TV. It's been nothing but excitement, and he's given us some amazing memories. But it's 2024. Jeff and I are the same age, and I don't have the 30 years of ring wear on my body that he does, and it hurts me to walk up the stairs sometimes. So I just don't know as a fan what the Hardy Boys could really give us at this point. When they came back in 2017 at WrestleMania 33 and had that pop of the century, I thought they were kind of past their prime then, but they were still able to, come back and have some memorable matches and do a couple of things. And the Hardys are still proving that they are still a draw and people still care. But your body is not going to hold up forever. I'm sorry, but Adam Copeland and Christian Cage are in much better physical ring condition at this stage in their life than the Hardy Boys are. Matt is very, very slow in there, but that's not his fault. You'd be slow too if you're 49 or 51 or whatever the hell Matt is now. And with Jeff, it's the same thing. And given Jeff's style, at this point, if I'm Matt or if I'm Jeff Hardy, I would long have started to care about my legacy now. It's time to start searching for a time to close the door. That's what I would do, and I really hope the Hardys don't wrestle into their fucking 60s and continue to make in-ring appearances forever. It would be so nice for the two of them, or at least Jeff, but it would be great if the both of them could somehow finish up their in-ring careers like very soon in the near future. So if WWE is going to take another chance on Jeff Hardy or another chance on the Hardy Boys, I think it should be for a Hall of Fame run or maybe a short little farewell run. And I'm talking short. I'm talking 3 months, man. 3-4 months. Get them back on TV. Give them a couple of matches. Maybe have them win the pizza titles or something. And then drop them. And then be done somehow. I just think it would be nice. All of the turmoil that the Hardy Boys individually have been through in their lives. A lot of fans thought neither one of them should really be alive. We all thought we'd lose both of them to overdoses by this point. And the fact that they're both in good places with good families, best days of their careers long behind them, arguably should probably not be doing anything more physical at all anymore. I think if they had a chance, if the Hardy Boys had the opportunity to come back to the WWE for one final small little run, farewell program, and a Hall of Fame induction, that is the best that they or us as fans could hope for when it comes to the Hardy Boys. So Jeff Hardy, maybe he turns up in TNA for a little while, him and Matt Hardy, maybe rekindle a little TNA magic and add some closure to that, and then maybe come back into the Federation. We got almost a year until WrestleMania next year in Vegas. Vegas might not be the best city for Jeff Hardy to be hanging out in. If he goes into the Hall of Fame, WWE actually might not want to put the Hardys in the Hall of Fame because the show is in Vegas. But you're going to have to trust them on that to just keep their shit together. So I think a Hall of Fame induction and maybe some sort of, I don't know if a retirement run or a retirement match or something that can give not only the Hardys, but the fans closure. Because I never thought, as tumultuous as both of these guys' lives were, I didn't think we would ever get closure on either of their careers. And if, as a fan, if I'm presented an opportunity to get closure on the Hardys, I want it. So that is why I think that under the right conditions, it would be worth bringing the Hardy Boys back in briefly to just cherry on top their careers. That's what I would appreciate if I was a fan. But we'll see. I think Triple H has always had a good amount of respect for the Hardys and that type of thing. So I think he'd probably be open to it. And if he felt like, if he knew that Jeff Hardy was available, they might want to offer him that Hall of Fame induction that he turned down a few years ago, unless there's some bitter feelings there still about how that happened. And they're a little bit, upset with how he handled that. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe that could be a roadblock. But otherwise, I'd bring the Hardys in, Hall of Fame their asses, maybe give the fans one lasting moment of the two of them in the ring, winning a match or doing a swanton, or maybe even winning the championships. Maybe winning those pizza titles to add yet another new set of tag team titles to their resume, because I think those pizza belts are new, right? They're brand new. So that would be yet another set of tag team titles that they could add to their legacy with all of the other championships they've won. Might be a nice little cherry on top of their careers. We will see. Those pizza belts are on one of my least favorite teams in recent memory in WWE, Awesome Truth. So the Hardys coming back and beating them might be kind of fun, but I don't think that's going to happen. So we will see where Jeff Hardy lands, if anywhere. I just hope Jeff Hardy, personally, his life is doing okay, and that we can get some sort of future closure on his career and Matt Hardy's career in the next couple of years. Would be nice. What do y'all think about the Jeff Hardy stuff? Zane G, good to see you. Appreciate 5 from you, man. Well, the Hardy Boys are moving a lot more quicker than The Rock or Sting at their age, for that matter. Jeff is still moving all right. Matt looked like he was struggling to me, though. And The Rock, The Rock I thought was going to suck. I think I had such low expectations for The Rock at WrestleMania. I came away from it thinking he did great. I mean, you got to remember The Rock's age, too. He's the same age, in his 50s like that. And I thought he did pretty good, but Rock never worked the style of Jeff or Matt. They were always smaller, quicker guys, but it's not their fault. It's just the toll. Look at their style they've wrestled. Rock wasn't diving off of ladders onto steel steps 16 times a year. Rock was a little more safe, and so was Sting, but they're also bigger guys and slower. But I just thought the Hardys were kind of slowing down, Spectre's got 5 for us. Thanks, dude. What if they put Ricochet into the Don Callis family, have Callis be his mouthpiece to be the charisma, and let Ricochet try being a heel? Maybe fun. Yeah, but Ricochet's too much of a high flyer for that. That's something, that's something I do for a heavy that has no charisma. That's something I do for a Wardlow. Stick him there where he can stand in the background menacing. Ricochet... I'm not saying being in the Callis family would be bad. Kyle Fletcher's in the Callis family. Takeshita is in the Callis family. So that's fine. But Ricochet is such a different level of high flyer that I don't know if him being a heel, he'd have to be the cocky heel. He certainly couldn't be an intimidating heel. And I think Ricochet being a cocky heel, he'd probably be better at that than a babyface. So as I kind of rethink that Spectra, in the context of the type of character he would be, which would be the gum-chewing, sunglass-wearing, cocky guy. He's come to AEW for a big contract. I mean, he can use that as part of his gimmick. If you're a heel, I chose to leave the game. I chose to leave the biggest game in town, the show, the World Series, the Super Bowl. I voluntarily left there to come here for big money. Get his fucking shoes and his bracelets and his shirt and glasses, and he can... and I'm a superstar. I got a smoking hot wife that works in the other company or something like that. He could maybe go that avenue, then maybe it would work. But I think when I originally thought of your idea of him being in the Don Callis family, I'm like, well, Ricochet's too high flying and exciting to be a heel. I think he's going to have to come in as a babyface at least at first, because I think the fans are going to react to him when he gets there. Yeah, Trekopedia, that's always been Jeff's problem, is taking responsibility for his actions. What's up, Yachiro? Good to see everybody else that has said hello to me since I've been flapping my gums here. Dr. Wargod's got $2 for us. Imagine Hardy's start a fed of all ladder matches. No. Oh, I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle all ladder matches. I don't even like the amount that we have now. I think it's too many. And I don't like multi-man and multi-wrestler ladder matches for the men or the women, because it just takes too long to set up spots and stuff. And plus, we've seen everything now. It's, it's like, what can you do? What's left to do? How many different ways can you configure these tables and ladders and chairs and all that stuff, and make exciting moves now that we've been doing this for a quarter century or longer? It's crazy. Yeah, and to keep Jeff Hardy away from ladders, I don't know, man. If they do bring the Hardy Boys back for one more final farewell little thing, for a fact Jeff Hardy is jumping off, just for old time's sake. He's going to risk severing his spinal cord in half, but it's what Jeff is going to want to do, and as long as they just do it one final time, like imagine the final swanton. Imagine Hardy climbing to the top of a ladder and knowing he's about to dive off for the final time. It might be special, so we'll see. We will see how that goes. All right, what's next on my news list here? Cody Rhodes. That's right. Cody Rhodes made an appearance on Tuesday in NXT. He had a segment in the ring with NXT World Champion Trick Williams, where Cody got invited to the cookout. Ask Brian Alvarez about that. Hilarious. Hilarious. I'm proud to say, when I was in high school, I was invited to the cookout. I was. Cody Rhodes, though, I think what was the most interesting about NXT on Tuesday was Cody backstage with Ethan Page, Shawn Spears, and Lexus King, a.k.a. Brian Pillman Jr., and a little AEW reunion of sorts with Cody as the champ. And Cody looked at all three of them and said, "You guys are in a good place." That was cool. That was cool. There's a difference between taking shots at the other side and just acknowledging what all the other fans see, And I didn't see anything wrong with this. I didn't watch all of Dynamite last night. I don't know if AEW had any sort of answer for this at all, but I didn't even look at this as a shot. I looked at this as a treat for the fans. When I saw Cody do this, I saw a lot of fans like, "Oh man, AEW, if they shoot back, they have every right to," or, just fans just making it tribal. And I'm like, why is nobody talking about what this actually is? This is a treat for pro wrestling fans. This is WWE saying all these guys used to work together in another company. We'll put them on screen because the fans know. It's like one of those if you know things, right? And with wrestling fans like us who know the history of these guys and where they've been and, and all of that. And when we see things like this, that they're what they're attempting to do is give us a treat. AEW will do the same thing. Them acknowledging WWE or a wrestler's history in WWE or two wrestlers' history in WWE isn't a shot at the other company. Doesn't mean that the other company or one company is obsessed with the other one. It's them saying, "Oh, look, Cody is here. There's a bunch of AEW former wrestlers currently on the NXT roster. Let's stick them in a backstage segment together." In WWE in 1996, King of the Ring, 1996, Stone Cold Steve Austin won the tournament, right? But in the finals, was it the finals or the first match? As he's coming to the ring, Brian Pillman is leaving. And the two of them passing the aisleway, and they just look at each other. That's for us. That's for us. That's a WCW tag team, the Hollywood Blondes, coming back together in WWE. And that's the WWE's way of saying, if you know, you know. And there's countless of examples like that. But that's one of my favorites. It was just a little thing because Pillman was cutting a promo that night. I was at home watching it with friends. Daniel, if you're in the chat, you were with me. You remember. And Pillman's cutting the promo at ringside, and he's leaving as Austin's coming to the ring. And that little just stare down there are the things that we should live for as fans. Not get mad about. Not spend 4.5 hours of brain-rotting discourse online about your tribal bullshit. This should be fun for us. This was like, oh, that's cool. If AEW did the same thing, like they've been doing with Christian and Adam Copeland, acknowledging their history, has nothing to do with WWE. That has to do with two wrestlers with storied careers elsewhere that, AEW is not ignoring. And I think that whenever either company does something like this, like something within the level of what they did on Tuesday with Cody and the AEW guys, I'm perfectly fine with it. And I'd be pretty sad if we didn't see shit like this. So if anything, I was a little bit, I can't say shocked, not surprised at all that, of course, fans made this an issue to debate about instead of shutting the fuck up and saying, wow, that was cool. Because it was cool. It was so cool. I liked that. So Cody there between all those guys and, they're looking at him. I mean, he's the proof is in the pudding. Like he was there with us. He was our boss at one point, and now we're here with him. And look, he's the man here. He's the champion. If he can do it, why can't any of us? Well, I know why, but I don't think any of those three. I will say this, unfortunately, as much as I like Pillman and Spears and Page, I'm going to go out on a limb and say none of those three men will ever be WWE champion. So if one of them proves me wrong, I hope they do, because I would love to be wrong about that. We also had word on Tuesday that Rebel, not Reba, was also backstage at NXT. Technically, she's still under contract to AEW, but they have not used her in a long time. When was the last time we saw Beautiful Rebel on TV. 2 years? So, yeah, she might be looking to poke her head in NXT as well. I hope she does. So that was fun stuff on Tuesday. I dug it. A lot. And also another news little tidbit here out of WWE. Apparently they have filed a trademark for Tala Tonga, Talla. Now, Hikuleo is expected in WWE at any time. He has finished up with New Japan. His middle name, I think, is Taula. And so the assumption here is that Hikuleo, who is the nephew and adopted son of Haku, Haku's tree's hard to decipher. So Hikuleo is the nephew and an adopted son of Haku. He's the half brother of Tama Tonga and the cousin of Tonga Loa. So it's weird, but they're all related. And now he's expected in as well. We still haven't seen Jacob Fatu yet. So essentially, we're going to be getting 2 more. So the current bloodline as we know it, has got 3 members in Tonga Loa, Tama Tonga, and Solo Sikoa. You're going to add Hikuleo now, who I guess is going to be called Tala Tonga. So you're going to have Tama Tonga, Tala Tonga, and Tonga Loa. Casual fans are going to have trouble keeping track of that. I'll be fine. You guys will be fine. I'm not sure about our grandmas, though. And then when Jacob Fatu gets there, I don't know what they're going to call him. I think Jacob Fatu, they might not call him Jacob Fatu. It would be kind of cool, I think, maybe not, if they gave him a name similar to what Umaga had. Just like one word, and maybe put a little face paint on him, maybe make him a little wilder. You know, he can cut a promo, but he definitely feels, of the current bloodline members, if he joins them, he's the one that seems the most likely to bite the head off a raw chicken, you know? So like if they made him a little crazier, that will be cool. And that's going to be an interesting bloodline, but still, you know, individually, you know, Solo Sikoa is barely able to get over. And I argue that he's still not in a lot of ways because he had that 30 match losing streak or whatever it was. So how strong and formidable is this group going to be by the time we get to Survivor Series? And by then, you know, I still think you're only looking at 4. Oh, shit. If it's, oh God, The Rock wouldn't come back for that. That would be too strong. Like imagine if Jacob and Hikuleo both come in. Now you got 5 members of that Bloodline 2.0, and you get Roman, both Usos, The Rock, and Sami Zayn all going against them at War Games. It's going to be a fucking murder, man. I think The Rock could beat all 5 of those members by himself. So I don't see that happening, but there is going to be 5 members now on that team if this is what's happening, unless they are saving Jacob Fatu or Tala Tonga for the babyface side. I don't know. I still think Paul Heyman is up to some stuff. I still think Paul Heyman his performance is so over the top that I think he's playing the bloodline in some way. I think he's in some sort of contact with either with Roman Reigns or The Rock. And we'll learn that, you know, pretty soon. So maybe he's got one of these guys on his side. I don't know what the hell they're going to do. But anyway, Tala Tonga trademarked in WWE and sounds like on his way in. Oh, I already read that one. Sorry. Dr. Wargod. Yeah, that's what it means. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I just thought it was a very, very funny story today online when I was reading about the cook-off stuff. I could not stop laughing. Oh my God, to be white. All right. Dynamite. Let's talk about last night's AEW Dynamite. Now, I did not catch the whole show, but I saw what I needed to see. Now, we saw Swerve Strickland, he kind of comes out, opens up the show, cuts a promo, shows respect to Will Ospreay, who will be his opponent at Forbidden Door, as we know. And, incites how Will has been defending the title all the time. He goes, hell, he even has a title match tonight. And he's a fighting champion. Unlike those members of the Elite who have yet to defend their titles. I guess he's referring to the Young Bucks. And what's funny about that is the line was seemingly kind of impromptu or an unscripted line, unlike the Elite. And yet 2 seconds after he called out the Elite, we hear them on the microphone. Hold on. I think it's Matt or Nick. And they all start walking out to the aisleway. I'm like, Swerve barely got the sentence out of his mouth. shouldn't there be a little delay there? Or shouldn't Swerve go into his next sentence and then the Elite come out? Like, give them time, like, assuming they're back there on the monitor. Let's say they're watching. They're watching right there at Gorilla on the monitor. Even if they were right there watching, it's still, they would still need a few seconds to say, oh, give us a mic, we're going out there. Like, it was like they just did it too quick, just way too quick. It's how, you know, a couple weeks ago they like announced the match, the triple threat match with Shibata, Hook, and Jericho, but there's no way they would have known that fast. You know what I mean? Like, just, they got to think more about that shit. So the Elite was out there way too quick. And that's when, what we talked about earlier, they laid down the challenge to 5 of AEW's best for Blood and Guts. Now, I lost. Can you guys let me know in the chat, because I did not write down or I did not see, and they might not have even announced it. Do we know what the date of Blood and Guts is? I'm not even sure. It's going to be a TV match, right? It's usually on TV, I think. I don't think it's going to be this is not Forbidden Door, right? The Blood and Guts match. So the point is, though, the Blood and Guts match is coming up pretty soon. And we just had the Anarchy in the Arena match, which was very bloody and very good. And now you're going to do this one, and you're going to have like all new opponents. You've already had a couple of guys taken out by the Elite. You're not going to, you're going to be fighting all new guys. I mean, I guess it's a little bit like, you know, the NWO and WCW stuff, but I feel like the match for Blood and Guts is a little bit forced, and they're going to have to do a lot. They're going to have to do a lot to really make me care, because even though I know the match will be good, just like Anarchy in the Arena will be good, that's all it is a good match. You're just throwing us a good match at us. A bloody match that's probably going to have one over-the-top spot, you know, and thumbtacks on sneakers and shit like that, but we just did all that. So I feel like it's a little bit too soon, and like I said earlier, I think it would be better for AEW if they didn't have Blood and Guts kind of set on the calendar. And that's why I hated the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view for that reason, because you should just wait. The Hell in the Cell should be a match concept that's used on any pay-per-view. Just use it where you need it when a feud warrants it or calls for it. But you did that stupid pay-per-view for so long, you watered down the match, now it doesn't mean anything. And with Blood and Guts, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, if I was AEW, I would try to use the Blood and Guts match on average about every 18 months, not once a year. Just try to keep it in your mind. Oh, if you realize it's been, you know, over a year since you did a Blood and Guts match, okay, we haven't done one in a while. Let's start making that happen. Let's start making an issue between a couple of camps. Let's build that up on TV, and let's set up a Blood and Guts match for 2 months from now or something like that. But instead, it now feels like it's on their calendar, and they just got to say, okay, let's just do that. Or they've decided maybe this is going to be the Elite's deal. They're going to try to have all of these matches where they can all participate at once, and Blood and Guts and Anarchy in the Arenas and things like that are kind of the only ways to do that in that company. But still, you know, since it's so close after Anarchy in the Arena, I felt like you could have rolled with the Elite kind of doing their Elite thing, being those douchey heels that they can be for the summer, and then, you know, book a big match at the end of the summer or something like that. I don't know. Just feels soon. So we'll see how it goes. But the Elite issue the challenge, but then they get in the ring with Swerve and offer Swerve a spot on their team because there's only 4 of them. So they're like, why don't you join our team? They even get out a pair of shoes. You can wear our brand new sneakers, and Nana's kind of holding them, and Swerve tells them to fuck off, and Nana throws the shoes in the crowd, and a couple of fans catch the shoes, which was pretty funny. And then we're about to get a brawl starting. We're going to have all of the Elite members teaming up on Swerve when the Acclaimed come out to run off the Elite, and there's kind of a standoff there, and that's when Christopher Daniels comes out and says, nope, sorry guys, we got too big of a night of wrestling tonight. I can't just have you brawling all over the place, and besides, we have a match next. I need everybody to get back to the back because it's Jack Perry versus Dustin Rhodes next. Now, that was an advertised match that they set up. Was it Collision? I think it was on Collision. And this is going to be a TNT ladder match qualifier. So we know this whole entire TNT ladder match was designed for Jack Perry to win. So obviously he's going to beat Dustin here, which he did. Dustin Rhodes, bloody. He bleed. Does he bleed in every match? I think he bleeds in every match. Now, his promo on Saturday on Collision was giving off retirement vibes. And he is another guy that you have to wonder about at some point, he's going to have to retire, Dustin Rhodes. And he's had a hell of a run here in AEW. And the fact that he's still able to wrestle at relatively the same level. Obviously, he's old now, but like physically in the ring, obviously a little bit slower and can't do quite as much as he did. But I still see very little difference in 2024 Dustin and like 1996 Dustin. You know, they feel like the same to me. And that's crazy remarkable how he's been able to have this little extra run here in this last 5 years he's been in the company. That started 5 years ago at Double or Nothing when he had that classic, that bloody classic with his brother Cody. And to see him now, you know, doing this, it made me wonder on that promo on Collision if he could be thinking about retiring soon, and if they wanted to use the Elite as part of that, might be a good way to get heat. But it didn't happen here. It was just your typical Dustin Rhodes match. Of course, he's going to have to bleed. They did a deal where Dustin kind of like pushes Aubrey out of the way. It just looked terrible. He pushes her out of the way to dick kick, or he pushes her out of the way and he gets dick kicked by Jack Perry. But the whole spot with the ref kind of looked weird. But Aubrey didn't see the dick kick, and then Jack Perry came in with a running knee strike for the win and qualified for the ladder match at Forbidden Door. And now I believe it's him and Takeshita and Mark Briscoe, right, who have qualified so far. Shout out to Jersey Mike's. All right. And then we also had the Roosh and MJF stuff. Roosh defeated Dion Roosman. Quick squash match there. Beat him in about 2 minutes. Got on the mic and called his opponent a typical weak American. And then MJF runs in. The two brawl through the crowd and backstage. And they have announced that next week on Dynamite, it will be MJF versus Roosh opening the show, and the match will be commercial free. Okay, cool. First thing I thought when I saw that was cool. But I thought we were going to see it at Forbidden Door. So are we going to get a rematch at Forbidden Door? Are we going to get a rematch with a stip? I mean, they've done a really good job of heating Roosh up quickly, because they just started this a couple weeks ago when MJF came back. And now you're going to have to book a Forbidden Door match, possibly with a stipulation. And in just a couple of weeks, you've heated up Roosh. You've made him look real good. He's brawled with MJF all over the place. You could be doing this match on Dynamite just to have a count out or something like that and set up Falls Count Anywhere match, no DQ match, something like that at Forbidden Door between the two, since there's no title on the line. Could just be a grudge match or a street fight, because that's kind of what this was last night on Dynamite. So my theory is next week on Dynamite, we're not going to have a finish. It's going to be a DQ or a no contest or something like that. And that's going to lead to perhaps MJF just getting on the mic and challenging him right there to a stip match at Forbidden Door. And that's what they do. So we'll see how my instincts are on that. But that's the way it feels to me, because the whole time when Roosh and MJF started this issue, I just assumed that was going to be a Forbidden Door match. Unless Roosh is just a tune-up for Forbidden Door, but that means MJF's got to beat Roosh next week and then be challenged by a new opponent, maybe a New Japan dude or something, I guess. But I feel like Forbidden Door rematch might be what we get there. We also got Mercedes Moné, Daniel Garcia, and the team of Hook and Samoa Joe all picking up wins last night. I love that it looks like Samoa Joe might be bequeathing the nope spot to Hook, kind of teaching him how to do it. I forgot who jumped off at him, did like a springboard, and Hook just kind of got out of the way and then looked over at Samoa Joe, and Joe's like, that's pretty good. So I think it's very cute that Samoa Joe is teaching Hook that spot, because Joe's the only guy that's really done that, and he's made it his own. It's synonymous with Samoa Joe. But it's a spot that is pretty funny and should honestly live on. But it's not something you want to beat to death. You don't want all the wrestlers to start doing it. You know, it should be special. And Hook is a young kid. And if Samoa Joe, before he retires, is giving Hook his blessing to use this spot, it's minor, but it would mean a big deal to me. You know, that would be like, when you're on a junior varsity baseball team, you're a second baseman, and then, the seniors graduate and the senior leaves you his glove, and his hat at base for you and shit like that. It's part of sports and competition. And I think that if Hook is able to carry on this tradition long after Joe retires, 10, 15 years from now, Hook is still wrestling. Who knows where he is? He could have already had a run in WWE and be back in AEW by this point. And if he's still doing that, and it was and because Joe gave it to him, I think it would be great. That was one of my favorite parts of the whole show last night, is watching that spot. So hopefully Hook will carry that on. We also had Pac and Shingo Takagi declaring for the Owen. So the Owen tournament has got a couple of more declarations there. So they're not really having to qualify for this. So I don't have dates in front of me, and I've been bad in keeping track of this. I don't know when the Owen starts. Like, for example, Will Ospreay, if he wants to be in that, can he declare after Forbidden Door? What about some people like MJF, who I also thought would maybe be in the Owen? But he's too busy with Roosh. You would think after MJF lost his title the way he did after holding it for a year, the minute he comes back, he's going to want to target the champion and get his belt back, right? So why wouldn't he immediately declare for the Owen? If all you have to do is declare for the Owen, why is everybody not declaring for the Owen? I have the same problem in WWE too. It's like when they have an open challenge and the champion's like standing there in the ring for 2.5 minutes before somebody comes out. I'm like, how come there isn't a stampede? How come people aren't trampling over each other, pulling each other's hair to go out there and get this free title shot? They're just what are they doing? They're busy? It's weird, so I think it should be a little bit more realistic than that. That's all. But we will see. The Owen is going to be a big deal this year because now there are stakes. Now you get a title shot, and I think that's good. I want the Owen tournament to be a big deal in AEW. It's the only wrestling connection we get to have to Owen, because Martha, as we know, won't do business with WWE. So this is it for us. So I like the fact that not only is the Owen continuing on, but the stakes are risen, and that's good. Main event last night was Will Ospreay defeating Rey Fenix. What is there to say about that match? It's ridiculous. Ridiculously good match. Fans were into it. I was blown away. I knew it would be good. And the title was on the line. It was an international title match, by the way. Ospreay did end up getting the win, and then there was a Swerve Strickland face-off in the ring after the match there. Seems like a lot of mutual respect, here between these guys, but it's starting to get a little bit, we saw, Ospreay with the 2 belts, starting to get a little bit more heated now. So I think them doing this at Forbidden Door is fun, because I don't really think it's going to be that big of a deal for Ospreay's future for him to lose to Swerve here. Swerve needs to beat, some quality opponents, and Ospreay is going to be a future world champion in the company very, very soon. So getting this match done now where Swerve gets a victory here, still leaves you plenty of time and wide open to do stuff in the future between the two. So it should be good. Forbidden Door's looking good. Here's what we have for the card so far. We've got Zack Sabre Jr. versus Orange Cassidy. We've got that TNT title ladder match. We've got Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa. We have Mercedes Moné and Stephanie Vaquer, and I think both of those championships are on the line in that, right? Not only the TBS, but also the New Japan Strong Women's title. We have Moxley defending his IWGP against Naito. So we'll see if Tetsuya Naito wins back the title or if they save Moxley dropping it for a New Japan show. And we have, of course, Swerve Strickland defending against Will Ospreay. So I think they're probably going to add MJF and Roosh, I guess. I would think that MJF would be on this card. It's in New York, right? And the Elite have got to do something. Correct? Unless, thank you. Ryan answers my question. Blood and Guts is July 24th. So is Okada not booked for Forbidden Door at the moment? I guess not. I don't have them written down. I might be missing one there. So yeah, but Forbidden Door is looking good, and that's coming up in just a couple of weeks as well. All right, we're going to move on now to Clash at the Castle predictions, but I'm going to cruise back to the chat here and answer some stuff first. Let me see what I want to open up here. There we go. All right. We are on to Clash at the Castle predictions. We're going to be doing that next. But before we do, let me go back to the chat here and see if there's anything else I need to answer. Yeah, Juliet, I know MJF is facing Roosh on next week's Dynamite, but I feel like they got to do the way they were brawling and stuff, like they made a point to brawl all out into the arena and stuff. So I feel like they got to do some sort of, if next week's match doesn't have a stip, I don't think it does. If it's just a regular match, then I think what you do is some sort of just DQ, or the guys can't just stop fighting with each other and they brawl into the crowd, double count out, and then you do a stip rematch at Forbidden Door. That's what I feel like they're doing. Otherwise, is there enough time to get MJF a new opponent for Forbidden Door? Because it's in Long Island. So, yeah, MJF's got to be on Forbidden Door. So that's why I feel like it's got to be that way, unless I'm completely misreading it. But my gut kind of tells me that. Yeah, right. And exactly with the 0-2, a few more bigger name stars. Bryan Danielson's in. I can't remember all of the current declarations. Biggest star is Danielson. Who am I missing? Other than who we learned of last night. Cherokee George watching last week's SmackDown. Don't care for Hayes, so full of himself. I think that's the point. LA Knight needs to kick more behind. He is too popular. But LA Knight is also full of himself as well. I mean, his gimmick kind of is, even though he's a babyface. Doctor, I do not think Swerve is dropping the belt at Forbidden Door. No. I'm surprised they're doing Ospreay and Swerve this soon, but I think there must be a reason for that, because otherwise I would have done that one at All In, which makes me think they might have even bigger plans for All In. And I'm wondering about Danielson too. He's in the Owen, and I'd love, now that he's, apparently winding down his career, maybe Tony Khan wants to get that AEW title on him. And I think London would love that. I think Wembley would go nuts for a Danielson world title victory in that building that night. But we also thought he was going to face Nigel McGuinness at that show all year long. So we'll have to see if that factors into Danielson's Owen matches, if he gets some on Collision and maybe Nigel gets involved or something. I don't know how that's going to work. Or maybe the plan now is for Danielson to go to All In and win the title before he retires. Why not? Maybe Tony Khan talked Danielson into wrestling until the end of the year, put the title on him at All In, drop it at World's End, call it a career for the most part, unless you come back and work a traction match or something. I'd love to see that. I love Danielson. He's one of my favorites ever. All right, let's talk about the Clash at the Castle, Glasgow, Scotland, Saturday. I have to watch this at 11 a.m. It airs for me here on the West Coast. Now, I do warn you, I do have friends in town. I'm getting together with them on Saturday, but I don't know what time yet. So, Ashley, if you are watching, text me and let me know what time you want me on Saturday, because I am planning my review around that. So, I should have time to come up here after Clash and give you guys a review. If not, if for some reason that's not possible, I will do a doubleheader on Sunday. We will come up early, and I will give you my quick rundown of the Clash at the Castle, and then we will be back later on Sunday night for our classic watch-along, as always. So that will be the plan for this weekend. One way or the other, you will get comments from me about the Clash, and you will hear my review. Let's talk about these matches, though, all 5 of them. Actually, before we do, let's hit 2 more super chats. Max Pokebruh chimed in earlier. If Priest cashed in earlier, Drew would be winning. Yeah, maybe. I also think that how cool would it be if this never happened? What if Drew, doesn't beat Priest at Clash and he's pissed, and then he enters Money in the Bank and wins it, and then cashes in on Priest? Wouldn't that be the first time that a Money in the Bank winner cashed in on a champion, and then the next Money in the Bank winner cashed on, and then that same guy that he cashed in on won the Money in the Bank and cashed in on him? Might be kind of fun. Like, that's got to be a first, right? They haven't done that yet. But yeah, we're going to talk about that match in a minute, because I've been racking my brain. Yo, Amato Gonzalez, how long is Kenny out for? Good question. He's still dealing with the diverticulitis, but I don't know. I think he's doing better, but I'm not sure if he's going to be back in time for like that blood and guts match, although it's over a month away. So, and I want to see him at All In. So hopefully Kenny can get back. I'm not sure. Hope you're doing well, Amato. No, Kenny didn't miss last year. Kenny worked Takeshita. Oh, all out, you said. All In, I think it was Takeshita. I don't remember. Yeah, such a bad memory with AEW. Zane G, $10 from you. Thank you, my friend. Off topic, but I'm watching WrestleMania 4, one of my fondest memories. Why is it after a match where they walk through the side of the crowd instead of back up to the entrance? Yeah, because they had a little side entrance. I think that was just to make it easier, so you didn't have to walk all the way up there. And if you had people coming down the other way, you didn't have to pass each other because that was a long walkway. You got TV time, and so you can get off to the side and get somebody else out there. But I also think it was just a little easier for the wrestlers to get back to the back than going straight up. Because, I mean, that entrance was a stage. We haven't really seen that entrance is way up high, and they came down that long staircase. I guess that's the way a lot of Mania sets are now. But I think it was just a little side tunnel to escape. But I noticed that myself. They did the same thing at WrestleMania 5, I believe. I think they had the same thing because it was in the same venue. But I just think it was just a way to get the talent off camera without having to go straight up the ramp. Oh, Garrett Osborne, Wrestle Dream is in Tacoma. Bryan versus Swerve for the AEW title. Yeah. That could be. That could be. All right. Well, let's start predicting Saturday's Clash at the Castle card. We are going to start with the tag team title match. It is going to be Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair defending their titles against Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark and Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. Now, I have to say something right here because I have been jokingly on camera a lot referring to Alba Fire as Melba Toast, joking at these ridiculous names that WWE comes up for these talents when Kaylee Ray was perfectly fine. I always liked Kaylee Ray. She's a great wrestler. We knew her as Kaylee Ray. And WWE has a tendency to do this with a lot of talents where they give them not only different names, but unimaginably stupid names. And there's a bunch of them in NXT. They're all like that. These NXT names, I was cracking up watching Battleground with you guys the other night. I'm like, who comes up with this shit? These are the dumbest names. And Alba Fire always, when I was my first job, I had a stock of salad bar and they had like crackers and we had so many boxes of Melba Toast. Now, when I saw Alba Fire, it always made me think of Melba Toast. So whenever I refer to her in reviews and podcasts, I call her Melba Toast as a joke, not as a joke or offensive to her, but WWE and their stupid names. It's not designed to throw shade at her. It's WWE that I'm frustrated with here. However, it was revealed that apparently her mother was killed on May 17th when she was visiting from, I guess she lives in Scotland, I think, visiting Orlando, visiting her daughter, Alba Fire, and was killed. Her father was also hit by the car. He lived. The mother did not. And apparently there are no charges filed in this. This was an accident, or it sounds like it might have been her parents' fault. And that's unbelievably sad that she went through that. Just less than a month ago, we saw her on Raw on Monday. And, you know, that's where it was revealed that her and Isla Dawn are getting the title shot. And originally, as we said on Monday night, I was like, well, they're only putting them on the card because I think they're both from Scotland, right? I know Kaylee Ray for sure is. I'm not sure about Isla Dawn, but I think she is as well. So, you know, you'd think that the only reason they're on the card is because of that. That's the only reason they have a spot on this card. So naturally, I'm like, well, Jade and Bianca are going to kill these women. All of them. All four of them. She's going to murder them all. They're going to stand tall. They're amazing tag team champions. But what if? You know, this is a triple threat. Why can't Alba Fire pin Zoe Stark and win the tag team championships? What would be wrong with that? Feel good story for the Scotland crowd. special moment for Alba Fire. Maybe she can dedicate it to her mom. Assumingly there might be family there who are all still mourning this. Maybe it can be just good for them. I mean, WWE hasn't mentioned this. I don't think they mentioned this on Monday. I just read this 2 days ago. So, maybe there's a chance there, because when you are in a triple threat, that's your chance. If you ever want to get the belt off of a monster or a monster team, then triple threats are a good way to do that because you can protect them. They don't have to take the pin or eat the pin. So, I don't know. At some point, you're going to have to take the titles off Jade and Bianca. At some point, you're going to have to do that. And I theorized this a couple weeks ago, too. And I said that whenever that happens, there's not going to be a team on the roster that's going to be formidable enough to just plain beat them. So you're going to have to tie in the split to it. Like there's going to have to be miscommunication. Bianca's going to have to eat one of Jade's pump kicks by accident, or Bianca's going to smack her in the face with a fucking braid. Something's going to happen. And maybe that's what, oh shit, oh no, oh Graves, look Cole, they're pissed at each other and they kind of get face to face. Heels take advantage, win the match, capitalize off the distraction or the dissension or the miscommunication or whatever it is. And then they lose the titles and then boom, it kind of sets up their feud and rivalry. SummerSlam is just around the corner, and maybe there is a miscommunication in this match or something like that, and the two women kind of get briefly distracted by each other, allowing Alba Fire to nail Zoe Stark with something and pin her. They win the titles in front of their home country. Biggest upset, of the year, maybe. And that could begin the issue with Jade and Bianca that could maybe result in a SummerSlam match. Because next year in Vegas at WrestleMania 41, I want to see Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. That's the match I want to see next year. And I'm hoping Ripley can get healthy enough to resume her run and continue being dominant until we get into next year. But Jade and Bianca would look pretty damn sweet on that SummerSlam card if you wanted to do it this quick, if you wanted to turn Jade heel, or better yet, maybe turn Bianca heel. I've been wanting Bianca to go heel for how long have I been talking about this now? 3 years? 4 years? I swear I was in my old apartment talking about this, and that was 5 years ago. So I'm ready for her to turn heel at some point. And then if she did, and then they book Bianca and Jade, you could have heel Bianca beating babyface Jade, perhaps cheating to win at SummerSlam. And then Bianca's a heel. She's beaten Jade. She dominates. You're also going to have Nia Jax, who I think is on the... Are they both on SmackDown? Or is Bianca on SmackDown when she's not a champion? Her and Jade are on SmackDown, right? Yeah, I think they are. So you're going to have a heel over there in Nia Jax, who I believe is going to win the title at SummerSlam. So this might not work if you've got Bianca trying to be a dominant heel and you have Nia Jax over there doing the same thing. I don't know how that's going to work, but it still could. You could just put Bianca as a heel, have her feud with various people, but not Nia Jax, and then have her win the Rumble. And then challenge Rhea Ripley, and there you go. So something like that. And then by then, maybe heel Bianca after beating Jade at SummerSlam has got some shorter hair. She's a little cockier, flaunting her relationship with Montez a little more, and maybe having a little bit more of a killer instinct. So I would love for all that to happen. And I would love to see a upset, feel-good story here for Alba Fire and Isla Dawn to win the tag team titles. But I have my doubts, even with, the tragedy that Alba recently suffered. I don't know. Part of me really, really wants to predict them. Of all the YouTube Clash at the Castle predictions you guys have watched so far, has anybody picked Alba Fire and Isla Dawn? Probably not. So what do I do here? I mean, I did not originally predict them. Bianca said she won't turn heel because she wants to be a good role model for young black women, which is a cool reason. Kind of reminds me of Cena being a hero for kids. Yes, I understand both of their perspectives. Totally. I understood Cena. I understand Bianca. But as a fan, that's boring. I think she'd be great. She's super, super talented. That's what I always said about Cena, man. The guy is good at what he does, and don't have him do one thing. He's probably got abilities beyond this that we don't see. We see now that he's in the movies. And Bianca, I'm like, man, you make her a fucking hard-nosed, ass-kicking, murdering, monster heel. I would love that for her. And you can still do that and come back to being a babyface. You're not going to completely abandon being a role model to anybody. But if that's what she wants, that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. Whatever you want, Bianca. But I think you'd be a great heel. And nothing is ever forever. So even if you go heel, you can just go babyface again. Not a big deal. I still haven't predicted this match, have I? Okay, fuck it. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, upset of the century, win the women's tag team titles. I'm picking them. Just to pick them. And like I said, they could turn that into a Jade and Bianca feud, or it could just maybe be, it could just be for one night, and then when you get back to the States on the very next Raw, Jade and Bianca win the belts back. They could do that, but you could use it as a way to split Jade and Bianca and move towards a SummerSlam match. I would love that. But if Bianca doesn't want to turn heel, that means it's going to have to be Jade going heel. And I don't want to see that. I'd rather see Bianca go heel and beat Jade by cheating, instead of Jade going heel and then just Bianca beating her clean. You know what I mean? Because that's what will happen. If Jade goes heel and then it's Bianca and Jade, I would if Jade goes heel, then I would have Jade Cargill cheat to beat Bianca. Because if Bianca just beats her, KODs her in the middle as a babyface and twirls her hair for the win, fuck that. That's not fun. That's the typical shit you've been doing for the last 5 years. Have some more fun with this. Have one of them go heel and cheat to beat the other one at SummerSlam. That would be better for me, but we will see. But okay, yeah, I did it. I can't believe I did it. I'm going to be wrong. I'm going to be wrong about that one. I don't even care. But Alba Fire, Isla Dawn, I'm predicting them to win the women's tag team championships at Clash at the Castle. Yeah, I'm going to be wrong about that one, but that's okay. Here's one I'm not going to be wrong about. Bayley defending her WWE Women's title against Piper Niven. Piper Niven's great. She's Chelsea Green's spicy little margarita, and she had a great promo on SmackDown last week, but Bayley is taking that title into SummerSlam to probably drop it to Nia Jax, which means she's winning this. So Bayley all the way. Not much more to say about Bayley and Piper. I think Chelsea could jump in there, and get involved or whatnot, but the way they've been kind of building Nia Jax, I feel like she's pegged to win the title at SummerSlam. So, and I think that would be fine. I wouldn't feel like Bayley was done wrong or she didn't have a long enough run if she were to drop it at SummerSlam. That would be fine with me. And Nia Jax, I still can't believe that I'm like happy that with her performance and how she's been used and her success. I just was not thinking I was going to feel that way. I wanted nothing to do with her. And they did so well with her. And now she's the queen of the ring. She's probably going to win the championship. And this is going to be the most interesting title run she will have had if she wins the title at SummerSlam like we expect her to. It's going to be way more interesting than any of the other times she won the championship. So Bayley all the way over Piper Niven. Sami Zayn defending the Intercontinental Championship against Chad Gable. This will be, if my math is correct, the 5th Intercontinental title shot that Chad Gable has received in less than a year. That's a lot. So if the end game here is what we've been talking about for weeks, and what we've been talking about for weeks is for Chad Gable eventually to have the situation with the Alpha Academy implode. He's either going to fully turn on them or they're finally going to get fed up with his shit and turn on him. And then he's going to form a new stable with the Creed brothers and kind of a vibe of what Team Angle was. That's what I've been wanting. That's what we've been speculating on and kind of making, tentative creative plans in our head that is going to happen. So if that is still kind of the working plan, that means that Gable is eventually probably going to win the Intercontinental title. So if he is, that means he probably is going to get another match against Sami Zayn. How do you justify a 6th Intercontinental title match? Because that'll probably be where it happens. Money in the Bank would be a good spot for that, for Gable to win the title there. Or maybe you could stretch it to SummerSlam, but that would be hard. But if that's still the plan, you got to do something in this match that's going to justify giving Gable another shot. So Otis is going to be there. We know that American Alpha. What the fuck are they called? Yeah, American Alpha will be there. And based on how much abuse they've all suffered at the hands of Gable, he's slapping Otis routinely now on TV. And this thing is dragging on. And I said on Monday, this shit cannot go on beyond this weekend. They've been building this up for so long. They cannot do another finish where Otis struggles, with his emotions, but ultimately chooses to stay by the side of Chad Gable. Enough of that stuff. It's got to implode here. So I think it either implodes fully here in this match, or it starts to implode here and then it finishes off on Raw on Monday. So I think Otis is going to be involved in the finish. I think Gable is going to order him or instruct him to do something, maybe slap him. He finally gets fed up and maybe he blasts Chad Gable. Now, it all depends here what the referee is doing when all this is going on. If there's a ref bump and he's on the outside of the ring and Otis beats the shit out of Gable and then Sami Zayn wins the match, then how are you going to give Gable another match and justify giving him another title match again after something like that? But what if Gable is abusive to Otis? Otis loses his cool, gets in the ring and attacks Chad Gable. Crowd goes nuts. He puts Chad Gable down. But what that does is cause a disqualification. Sami Zayn gets disqualified because Otis attacked Chad Gable. Chad Gable wins the match via disqualification. Now you got a reason to do one more because Gable got a win. He got a win over Gunther last year. Wasn't it like a count out? And that's what set up his next couple of title matches. So now you could have it happen here again. I think if Gable loses, like gets pinned, then that is going to be tough to get him another title shot unless he uses Otis's interference as an excuse, or unless he bombards Adam Pearce on Monday. You saw what happened. If it weren't for Otis, I would have been the Intercontinental Champion. And then Pearce might be like, okay, you're right. You can have one more shot. But I think it might make more sense for Gable to win via DQ and then win the title at either Money in the Bank or SummerSlam. And by then, you would think he's got his new crew with him intact. So I think maybe I'm still going to pick Sami Zayn. Let me look at my heel to babyface ratio here. Yeah, shit, man. I'm having trouble with this one. I'm going to pick Chad Gable to win via disqualification. I still think that could be wrong because I think what might happen too is Otis is going to do something in the match. Gable is going to lose. Gable's going to be pissed, of course. And then there's going to be the final payoff segment on Raw where Gable is going to come out and bring all the members out and officially fire them all or whatever he's going to do. And then maybe the Creeds show up there. I don't know how they're going to transition to any of this, but I think it really needs to be understood what they're doing by Monday. So I think in that respect, you might go Gable via DQ with Otis finally getting fed up and not being able to take the abuse anymore. But unfortunately, Otis finally standing up for himself is going to inadvertently cost Sami Zayn the match. So Chad Gable via DQ in that one. I'm not sure about my predictions, y'all. This is a hard one. This next one's not too hard. Next one's not too hard at all. Cody Rhodes defending his WWE Championship against AJ Styles in an I Quit match. So I can't see them realistically taking the belt off of Cody this soon. This is going to have to be SummerSlam at the earliest. We haven't even gotten The Rock back and Roman back yet. And we might get Cody and Roman at SummerSlam. We might get Cody and Randy Orton at SummerSlam. I feel like this is just one more match for Cody to have. He's going to have to do something at Money in the Bank. I feel like he's going to have another opponent or something, but I'm not sure if you can do another match with AJ after you do an I Quit match here. Now, apparently Cody's mom is going to be in Scotland. I think she's traveling there, and Cody might have some family there. So I suppose AJ Styles does have a chance if he threatens Cody's mom or something, like with a chair, say I quit right now or your mom gets it. I don't know. Like, it's got to be something like that. Then maybe Cody has no choice, but that would be a lame way to finish a match. I would much rather see like a very, very dramatic end with, some crazy submission or, AJ fighting for his life and ultimately says I quit with a crowd pop and whatnot. This match should be a lot of fun. You're not going to have the up and down action of near falls and stuff in an I Quit match, but I still think this can be very good, very fun. And Cody and AJ having, a good series of matches here before AJ retires, I think is really important for Cody's legacy as a WWE champion. So I'm glad that they're getting this in. Cody Rhodes, though, all the way here, I feel like he's going to get the win. I cannot envision a scenario, even though I'd have nothing against AJ Styles winning one more world championship. A couple of months after WrestleMania, after you just did this for Cody, would be even weirder than Ricky Steamboat dropping to Honky Tonk Man right after WrestleMania 3. So Cody, I think, is going to get the win here. I'm expecting a good, fun, dramatic match. I would not be surprised at all if Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles opens up the Clash. That's what I would do, because it is not guaranteed. We do not know for sure which match is going to be the main event. I would assume that Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest is your main event. For that match to go on anywhere else other than last would be insane. But it could. We don't know for sure. But I think with 2 world title matches on only a 5-match card, they should bookend the show. And I think Cody Rhodes and AJ opening up with an I Quit could be a lot of fun. But you know how I predicted that tag title upset earlier on with Alba Fire and Isla Dawn actually winning the tag team titles? I feel like that match would have to go on like second to last to give it room to breathe. Like I worry that match would be able to follow Cody and AJ in an I Quit. So if you have a barn burning I Quit match, I don't want the women to stink it up out there. Although I don't think Glasgow is going to care. They are there to have fun, and I think they're going to be into everything that goes on. But you have to worry about the match positioning. So if Cody and AJ, for argument's sake, did go on first, then I'm putting Jade and Bianca's title defense second to last, giving the fans the other 3 matches to cool down from that, and then have Alba and Jade maybe win for the crowd, and then have Drew turn right around and do it in the main event. Don't know how it's all going to go, but Cody over AJ Styles. And that leaves us with what I assume will be the main event. And this is where it gets weird. We have Damian Priest defending the World Heavyweight title against Drew McIntyre. We've unpacked this 19 different ways on the podcast. And one thing I keep mentioning over and over is the ongoing feud between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, and how that absolutely has to be our SummerSlam match. There's no way that cannot be our SummerSlam match. But since Gunther has won the King of the Ring, and he's getting the title shot at SummerSlam, for Drew to win the title, that means he's facing Gunther at SummerSlam. And I think Drew McIntyre faced Gunther last year at SummerSlam. You're also in a heel versus heel situation there, which I don't know if they would want either. And then what would CM Punk do, assuming he's healthy and ready to go, which I think he is, after all that build with McIntyre? Then where does that leave him? Where does that leave Damian Priest and the Judgment Day? That whole situation is on the verge of imploding. The whole hotel key thing on Monday night was very fun to watch. I'm enjoying all that stuff with the Judgment Day. But Gunther is the big factor here. The fact that Gunther gets the title shot means, to me, that Drew McIntyre is not going to be the champion at SummerSlam. That's what that tells me. Unless they make this a triple threat or something, but I can't see that happening either. So Gunther getting the title shot at SummerSlam tells me that Drew can't be champion. That just feels like a weird match to do, since Drew's got so much other shit going on right now, specifically with CM Punk. So that match seems to be out. So if that match is out, that means McIntyre needs to lose on Saturday. But he's in Glasgow, in Scotland, in front of his homeland. He's already had some opportunities taken away from him in his life. WrestleMania 36 with COVID, and then Solo Sikoa costing him the title, and then he had to sing a duet with Tyson King after. Excuse me. All of that, he's had these opportunities taken away. If he were to lose this opportunity too, that would be really messed up unless it was CM Punk himself that costed him this opportunity. And we've talked about CM Punk being in Scotland. The only way I think that I could be okay with McIntyre losing in front of this audience on this night would be if CM Punk cost him the title or cost him the match. Because if that happened, that would be amazing. Because the heat that would get, Punk would be like probably the total heel in that situation, right? Might be the closest thing to a US and Canada thing we'll ever get. Because I think if Punk were to come in and screw Drew, Glasgow should be pissed off about that. And then you come back to the States and they're all happy about it. I feel like McIntyre losing here has to be at the hands of CM Punk. It can't come at the hands of anyone else. So if CM Punk is spotted in the next 72 hours here in the United States, then I think Drew McIntyre is winning the title. If CM Punk is not in Scotland, and that's another thing. I think a lot of the talent over there is doing a lot of media, a lot of appearances. They're not going to fly CM Punk all the way over there just to hide him in a trailer the whole time. You would think Punk himself would want to get out and see the sights a little bit. No, fuck that. I want to go see that big ass cliff or something. I don't know. So they'd have to kind of keep it on the down low, but he's going to be spotted there, and then it's going to be leaked that he is there. So WWE is going to not want to try to hide him. They can have him do media, but then the fans are going to know he's there. And now we know he's going to interfere, or we know it's likely he's going to interfere, and that might spoil a little bit for us. We also, on Monday Night Raw, saw Drew McIntyre defeating Finn Balor. The stipulation on Raw was that if Drew McIntyre won, the match with Priest on Saturday would be one-on-one, and Judgment Day would be banned from ringside. So Priest is already on his own. It's one-on-one. There should be nothing stopping McIntyre from winning except CM Punk. So basically, that's the question. Is CM Punk there or not? Because if Punk is there, I think he can cost Drew. That would add a fuck ton of rocket fuel to that already personal issue. And now McIntyre, from his perspective, is going to be screwed twice by CM Punk. He's already obsessed and enraged as it is. And if he gets screwed out of 2 titles in 3 months by one man, and on top of that, it's front of his home country, his fucking mom in the front row, that could be incredible heat for the feud. And I would love it. I would absolutely love it. Excuse me. However, if that doesn't happen, then I think you have to give Drew this moment in front of this audience, in front of this crowd. But remember what I said earlier about how I don't think he's going to be champion by SummerSlam. Maybe he wins the title and then Punk screws it out of him at Money in the Bank instead. Comes in and screws him, effectively, serving the same purpose, although McIntyre gets his moment now in front of his home country. But then Punk screws him out of the title because there might be a rematch. Maybe it's Priest and McIntyre at Money in the Bank, since, Drew got, or maybe, Drew won and then Priest just gets a championship rematch or whatever. And that's when Punk comes in and helps Priest win the title. Now Priest is a 2-time World Heavyweight Champion, just like Drew McIntyre is. They both got 2 runs in a short amount of time. This is some Attitude Era title speed here. And then you do Priest and Gunther, I guess, at SummerSlam. Maybe by then Priest is a babyface and Gunther beats him and wins the title. And you can still have your CM Punk and Drew McIntyre match at SummerSlam as well. So I don't know which way it can go. I just want to know if Punk is there. Does anybody know if Punk is there? Has anybody seen him? Is there any news about Punk being spotted in Scotland? I feel like if I knew that information, I could have a better idea of predicting this match. And a big part of me wants to predict Priest to retain. I do. But at the end of the day, it's Scotland. It's Glasgow. It's where Drew lives or where he's from. I think it's got to be McIntyre. I think it's got to be McIntyre winning the title and then somehow dropping it before we get to SummerSlam. And that's a tough thing to predict because that's not how WWE's been doing things lately. It's the way things went in 1999 and 2000 and 2001. Think of the frequency that those world titles were changing all the fucking time. Sometimes through 2 or 3 times within 2 or 3 months. Think about how many times Mick Foley and The Rock traded it in January and February of 99 alone. Austin and Undertaker, same thing. There's been a lot of like kind of just passing the belt around. Austin won the belt at WrestleMania 14, lost it at King of the Ring, and then won it back the next night. The next year, lost it at Over the Edge when Owen died, won it back a month later. I was there for that show. And that was very, very common. So maybe they got to do some callbacks to that here and have a couple of rapid fire championship runs, especially if Cody is going to be hanging on to the WWE title for a while. Maybe the Raw brand can have a little bit more frequent title changes and the title kind of gets potatoed around a little bit before it lands on Gunther for a long stint. So having a few early title changes here might be the perfect setup for Gunther to have a long run. Because I don't know how you're going to put Gunther in a title shot and title match at SummerSlam and not have him win it unless they want to wait until Bash at Berlin and do it there. But I think you can just do a title defense there for Gunther that he wins. So for this match of the Clash, I'm going to predict Drew McIntyre to win the World Heavyweight title. This was one of the harder cards to predict. The last one, what did we just do last? It was Backlash in France. Easiest card to predict. Predicted the 5 matches, no sweat, didn't even think about them long. We went 100% in our predictions. Easy as pie. This really isn't. I feel like we could see a potential for a big upset in the women's tags due to what's recently gone on with Alba Fire. And I feel like Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre could essentially go either way, depending on what they're going to do with CM Punk. But since we already know Gunther gets the title shot at SummerSlam, that's the whole thing that I can't get out of my head. I'm looking ahead to SummerSlam. What's that card going to look like? And I just can't see Drew McIntyre and Gunther being on that card. I just can't. So it's got to be McIntyre and Punk. Just gotta. King Ozza, Roman, too bad because Cody going to hold it till WrestleMania 41. He probably will. He probably will hold it to WrestleMania 41. I'm fine with that. But if you start, I think anytime, after SummerSlam, you can realistically talk about it. I'm not going to reject it. If they had Cody drop it at the Royal Rumble, fine. Whatever you think. JJ Leg, thank you, man. Good to see you. Appreciate the $5. If Drew and Piper both lose, Alba and Isla could be the home country feel-good win for the night. I don't think it's that crazy of a prediction. Right. I feel like Scotland has got to get one or the other. So if CM Punk is gonna show up and screw McIntyre, then at least give Alba and Isla the victory there. And that might be a good show opener too. I kind of think Cody and AJ should maybe open, but maybe you should open with the women there and just start the crowd off hot. Feel good moment for Alba and Isla. That's definitely possible. But this whole Punk thing, it's just a matter of if he's there or not. And I cannot see him making that long trip to be hidden the whole time, to be inside of a claustrophobic room or a bus or a plane or something for all those hours and not being able to get out there and smell the fresh air. That would suck. So I question whether or not Punk makes the trip. Don't know. Marcus M., thank you for the 5, my friend. So at All In, Swerve versus Danielson, Ospreay versus MJF, or Ricochet, Storm versus May, and Mercedes versus Britt. Yeah, fingers crossed for Omega. I love Mercedes and Britt. I hope we get to that. I feel like Mercedes and Saraya will probably have to happen at some point as well. Ospreay and MJF. Yeah, I guess. I suppose. I don't know if that'll be a international title match, but I think Ospreay and Ricochet would be more fun. Swerve versus Danielson. And in terms of MJF, Danielson's going to have to win the Owen to get the match with Swerve. But in terms of what MJF could do at All In, I don't know. He's going to I feel like whatever feud he has is going to be a much bigger one than the one he's doing with Roosh right now. Feel like they tried to just end the Adam Cole one. I never put up Drew and Priest. Sorry. I feel like they just ended the Adam Cole issue and they probably won't revisit that. So I don't know what MJF is going to do, who he's going to face at that show, but it's got to be big. And then Storm and May, and with Tony Storm kind of pushing Mariah May towards the Owen tournament and Mariah May winning it would set up a fun story there since, a lot of fans have had Mariah May pegged as being the one to take that title off of Tony Storm. Feels like that's the story they're telling. And now with Mariah being in the Owen, you got a pathway to get that done. So I hope Omega can wrestle at All In as well. Alpha Academy. I keep calling them American Alpha, that whole damn faction. And after all, Spectre brings up a good point. After all of that chatter about the Intercontinental Championship match with Gable, we didn't talk about if he's officially re-signed. Kind of forgot about that. Is there a bug on me or something? What the fuck is going on? I feel like there's something crawling on me. But we haven't talked about his contract status. We don't know if he's re-signed or not. I believe he's going to. I feel like the general belief is that he is going to, and they have creative plans for him. He's in the middle and the thick of a big story right now that's probably going to culminate with him winning the championship. But then again, Ricochet left, but I feel like Gable is going to re-sign if he has not yet already. And I hope that he gets that stable formed with the Creed brothers, because I think that would be a lot of fun, especially when he finally wins the championship. And that's probably, like, if they're planning on doing that, and we're right about these assumptions and sniffing this out, that might be why they've been waiting so long to take the titles off Awesome Truth, because these pizza champions are wearing thin on me. So I feel like on Monday, if we see Chad Gable form his group with the Creeds, he eventually wins the Intercontinental title, possibly at Money in the Bank in Toronto, which isn't far from Sami Zayn's, area. That would be huge heel heat. Then right after that, you book the Creeds against Awesome Truth, and the Creeds win the tags. And then you got Gable with the IC and the Creeds with the pizzas, and you got yourself Team Angle 2.0. No problem. I'm fine with that. So I hope all that happens. I do. Isaac, Cody and AJ has to be the opener. Yeah, I kind of hope it will be. Yeah, Shell Shock, I feel like Drew and Priest has to main event the show. There's no way. I mean, I feel like if Drew and Priest does not main event, they give away the ending. If Drew and Priest opens the show, well, I guess Drew could win. That would be a good way. Triple H could swerve us. I'm going to have them open. And then when it opens, the internet's going to say, oh, it's guaranteed Priest is winning. It's not main eventing, and then have Drew win. He'd still get the great moment in front of the fans. Still be awesome. Just wouldn't close the show. But no, it has to close the show. WWE would be idiots if they didn't have it close the show. So yeah, Priest and Drew should go on last, and it will be a great moment for him if he wins. A great one. Oh, we got a super chat from my boy, Amato. What's going on, man? $5 from you. What if Punk wins Money in the Bank and is on commentary every match Drew has? So you get Punk sitting in the front of Drew with the briefcase. Yeah, I feel like in storyline, Adam Pearce will have to okay that for Punk to literally taunt the champion. And that's why I pitched a couple of weeks ago CM Punk winning the Money in the Bank briefcase. No, give it to a young guy. Stop saying that. God, why do you guys all say that? That's fine to give it to a less established guy or somebody who's never won the title before. I'm all for that in certain years. But there's also years when there's nothing wrong with a legend winning it either. That can also be fun. I don't know why fans are so against this. But if you had Punk win, think of the first 3-time Money in the Bank winner and first guy to cash it in 3 times. Him and The Miz have both cashed it in twice. Edge kind of cashed it in twice, but Punk being the first guy to cash it in 3 times. And if he were to do that against Drew McIntyre, that would be hilarious. But I'm not sure if Punk is going to win the briefcase anymore since, like I've been talking about, Gunther is sitting on that title shot. I feel like Punk winning the briefcase at that point, he would have to cash it in on Cody. I think if Punk won the briefcase, Cody would be his target. And that would make a lot more sense than Gunther, because we saw Cody and Punk have that amazing face-off before WrestleMania, and maybe WWE wants to try to get that done as quickly as possible, and having Cody come in or Punk come in and cash in on Cody, maybe after War Game. Well, it's not going to be War Games. That's going to be Bloodline. But some pay-per-view, cash in on Cody could be fun. And I pitched this a couple of weeks ago, maybe like a month ago, about Punk winning the briefcase and then just tormenting McIntyre, just making his life a living hell, dangling that briefcase in front of his face, constantly keeping him on edge and nervous that he's going to cash in. And all of the fans in the entire world is just waiting for Punk to cash in on Priest. Cody isn't worried about the Money in the Bank because Punk is so preoccupied with McIntyre, not Priest. He's so preoccupied with McIntyre that Cody doesn't even have Punk on his radar, and then Punk shows up and cashes in on him somewhere, breaks the internet, beats Cody for the title. I fooled all of you, made you think that I cared about Drew McIntyre. I don't give a shit about him. Cody, you're who I wanted. That could be fun. That could be totally crazy fun. So I'm open to Punk winning the briefcase, but I feel like that could be an added prop that the program with McIntyre just doesn't need. I think it's going to be a fun match. I hope Punk and McIntyre, if the match is going to happen at SummerSlam like we expect it to, I hope it can be half as good as Brock and Punk was back in 2013, because I thought that was amazing back then. Jesus, Marios, I don't know if I want to read that out loud. A lot of people do like Mina Shirakawa, though. Ryan Adams says, Jeff Hardy teased just now on Impact. Okay, that's interesting. Good to know. Yeah, we also don't know if Punk is cleared yet. Good point. We don't, but he's been moving around pretty good, and had nothing on that arm for a while now. I feel like he's probably all right. They probably want to keep it a little bit under wraps about how cleared he is or how close to being ready he is. So, but we've seen him get physical and stuff, so he's probably good to go now. They just want to be sure. That's my guess. I don't know. We will see. But anyway, I got to get out of here now. Thank you so much, guys. I had myself on a 2-hour limit here because I got stuff to do this evening. Thank you very much for being here. We will be back on Saturday at some point, most likely for the Clash at the Castle review. If not on Saturday, I'll be here Sunday afternoon, early in the afternoon for that. And we will also be here Sunday night for a classic watch-along, which I believe is going to be King of the Ring 1999, 25th anniversary of that show. And yours truly was there, sat on the floor, 4th row. It was a blast. We'll talk about that on Sunday, and enjoy the rest of your Thursday night, and have a great Friday tomorrow. And I will catch you most likely on Saturday for Clash at the Castle review. Y'all take care. Peace.